Hello and welcome to this Premier League special. Craig, how are we doing?
Doing good.
Good. We're also joined not by one, but two Steves. Big Steve, a Man City fan, how are we doing?
Very well, thank you.
Good. And then we got Steve, or Little Steve, from Redman TV. How are we doing?
I've never been called Little Steve in my life. So, yeah, I'm good. I'm all good, thanks.
It's the only way I can think of. So obviously we'll just get into predictions. We'll start off with predicting who's going to get relegated, who's going to win the league, top 8, top scorer, top assist. Just a little bit of fun, bit of predictions. Let's get into who's going to get relegated first. Craig, I'm going to go to you first. Who? Which you didn't want to.
Yeah, relegation. I mean, the three that come up are the obvious choices, aren't they? To go back down. But I think, trying not to be biased, but I think this season, from what I've seen so far in the transfer window, it's like it's a possibility the gap could get bridged to the teams, just above relegation that are there or thereabouts every season. So, like Brentford, I think I'll struggle this year. I'd like to. I think I see them in a dogfight, which presents a chance for Leeds, possibly Burnley. I can't see. I just can't see Sunderland staying up.
What about you, Big Steve?
Yeah, I mean it's going to be tough for the teams that got promoted. I can't lie. I went to watch Burnley today. They played Lazio, and the Lazio were poor, but they were better than Burnley. Burnley are going to struggle. I think they're well off the pace of it. Sunderland as well. I know they've thrown a bit of money at it, but I can't see it. I think Leeds could do okay, and like what Craig was saying, I think Brentford, they've had all the assets stripped. I think if Visa goes as well, they're going to find it tough. But the last few years, it's just been the gap from the Championship to the Premier League has just been massive. But like you say, hopefully some of the promoted clubs are spending a bit of money now, and hopefully they can bridge it. But I think I can see 2 of the 3 definitely going down.
What about you, Steve?
Yeah, it's kind of chalk, isn't it? My guess would be if I did have to predict, like put money on it, would be the 3 who came up. But I think Wolves are banging this mix as well. I agree with the Brentford thing because change of manager, losing the players, but I know Wolves are keeping the same manager, but again, losing players. Cunha, their best player, he's now gone to Manchester United, so I think they're banging the mix, but it's so difficult. The gap, it's just so tough to bridge that gap, and it's happened the last couple of seasons. I agree with Big Steve. If anyone would stay up the 3, I think Leeds have got the best chance. I know if you look at the odds, they're the only ones of the 3 who are almost odds against, because they have got a bit more quality. A manager who's kind of been there a little bit as well. Yeah, my guess is all 3 go. Sorry, I don't want to offend you guys. I think Wolves will be in that mix pretty late on as well.
You'll think as well with Wolves, they lost Aidan Nuri as well. So their left back, Semedo, their right back as well is gone. I think West Ham as well could be in massive trouble. If you look at, they've lost a lot of their back line as well. They've all gone. Kufal, Charlie Cresswell, a lot of their core players have gone. Brentford, like you've already said, but then you got Bournemouth, who have lost a lot of their best, like the whole back line of their defence, bar 1 or 2. Yeah, they signed Petrovic from Chelsea, but he's always been like a number 2. How is he going to be in his first season in the Prem? I haven't got Bournemouth to go down. I've got Burnley, West Ham, and Wolves to go down. But then I've got, like I said, Sunderland, Brentford, Leeds, even Fulham, Bournemouth could all be in that relegation fight. I don't know if any of you agree or if you think any of those will be safe.
I'd be shocked if Fulham were involved. I think Fulham are better than that. I don't think
West Ham
they're amazing, Fulham, but I'd be shocked if they were that far down. I'm surprised you said Sunderland would stay up, but I don't see that either, to be honest with you. I'm not sure what Sunderland have done. I know they spent a little bit of money, but I can't hand on heart City and say Sunderland are better than West Ham. Yeah, I don't think I agree with that one.
No, that's fair. That's just what I put down the other day. Big Steve, are you in agreement with Sunderland going down?
Yeah, I mean, I think they were very fortunate to go up. I think the squad's not the greatest. I know they've signed some players, got a few loans in, etc. But I think the gap's going to be too big for them. West Ham, who you mentioned, I think they're okay. I think with Bowen, Fulkrug, Paqueta, they've still got a bit of quality. Wan-Bissaka, they've signed the kid from Southampton on a free, Walker Peters as well. So I think West Ham will be all right, but yeah, I worry about Sunderland, whether they can. I mean, Granit Xhaka, I mean, he's at the back end of his career. I don't think that's a good signing for me, you know what I mean? I think he gives them experience, but nah, I think they've gone down the wrong road with that one. I think the Premier League's getting faster, and it's getting very, very, very fast. And I think, we're seeing it at Manchester City, these players like Ilkay Gundogan and people like that who are now looking leggy. So to go and get a Granit Xhaka and expect him to come in the Premier League again and hold that team up, I don't see it.
I think Adingra was a good signing. I like Adingra. I'm surprised Brighton let Adingra go. I think he's a good player.
Yeah, Adingra's good. And then they signed Guiu, is it, from Chelsea, the kid they got from Barca. He's a bit of an unknown quantity, but you just never know with him. But I think the whole squad around it, you know what the Premier League's like, when it starts getting deep near the end, you start having to pull people. You need your squad coming together, and I think they'll get found out,
The only thing that, obviously, if I was a Sunderland fan, the only thing that would worry me is the AFCON. They've signed at least 4 players from AFCON. They're signing another one as well, the left back that was at West Ham. So you got all those players going, and if you had a terrible run beforehand, and I know they play Man City and Leeds in that time as well, if then after the AFCON, if anyone gets injured, that worries me. I think they will go down, but on my list, I would love it to be a mix up. 1 or 2 teams stay up. I think that's what my logic was thinking. 2 go down, 2 stay up. But
I think we'd all love it to shift, won't we? See some of the. I don't want to call them new teams in the Premier League, because I mean some have been there for a few seasons, but for me, the old First Division going into the Premier League, it's always been certain teams in there, and like your Bournemouth, your Brentfords, it don't sit right with me that they're in a Premier League kind of thing.
I think Brentford are definitely one that I'm keeping an eye on. I mean, to be fair to Brentford, they've always done this. They've promote from within, and it worked really well with Thomas Frank. Keith Andrews coming in, and they signed Kelleher, who's a good goalkeeper. Obviously, I know Kelleher quite well, but then he's walked in, and all of a sudden, and Buemo's gone, the captain's gone, Norgard, Visa looks like he's leaving, and to take out that's like 40 Premier League goals out your team in 2 signings, and then you're losing your captain, and I understand Jordan Henderson's coming, but with all due respect to Jordan, Big Steve mentioned Gundogan before. Henderson was looking a little bit like that at Liverpool before that year when he left. So, 2 years on from that, I'm not expecting Jordan to be pulling up trees. So, yeah, I think the Brentford thing is interesting in that I'm sure they'll go and make some signings, don't get me wrong, and they'll invest that money. But, yeah, it sounds, it's so obvious to say, but like 40 odd Premier League goals just out your side and just expecting anybody to come and fill that in. And, yeah, I think that's a really tough one for them. We'll see if, again, I couldn't comment on Keith Andrews, the manager, because I don't have enough knowledge of him doing that. But I think that is they're gambling on the fact that they think they're going to be better, I think, than 3 teams just once, and then we'll figure it out from here. They didn't expect to lose the manager. They probably only expected to lose one of their strikers, and they're probably going to lose both of them. They're taking a massive gamble. So if Leeds or Sunderland or a Burnley can get off to a bit of a flyer and put real pressure on them, I think Brentford are definitely another one who are in that mix, because there's only so many times you can go to this well. We saw it with Southampton in the past. We saw it with other teams where, we're a team and we develop and then we sell and then we replace. But at some point, that gets really difficult just to keep on doing it. So I think Brentford are definitely in this conversation.
Yeah.
Plus, there's rumours I've heard that their owners are wanting to sell as well. So it makes sense why they've just stuck Keith Andrews in as manager, and they're not, might not be spending a lot of money to replace what they've lost.
Potentially. Let's mix up to the top half now. Obviously, I'll leave the top 2 for last because I think you two are both going to disagree, Steve. So let's go on to just missing out on the Europa Conference League. Obviously, it's all mismatched. So 8th place, who's just going to miss out? Big Steve, I'll go to you first.
I could see United just missing out, to be honest. I don't buy this we've signed Cunha, Sesko, and Mbeumo, and all of a sudden we're this superstar team. You know what I mean? I don't get it. I feel like last season doesn't get spoke about enough. Where they finished, it was a disgrace for the size of a football club like Manchester United. And I just feel there's real problems there. I mean, 8th to them would probably be a great season on the back of last season. But if we all know the way they talk and the way they act, that it should be diabolical season. You know what I mean? And I just feel like one game a week's probably going to help them a lot. You know what I mean? Because that squad's definitely not good enough to be going into Europe as well, week in, week out. They'll have a better season than last year, but I can just see them finishing around that 7th or 8th mark, Man United.
What about you, Steve?
Yeah, listen, they finished on 42 points last year. 61 points was 8th. 19 to get 19 points difference in one season. That's a big jump. Like Mbeumo, Sesko, they'll all have to hit the ground running, and Cunha I mentioned earlier. So I didn't even have United. I had United around this mark, 8th, 9th as well. But I went for Forest here, for the reason of the 2 games a week thing that Steve just mentioned before. I don't know which competition they're going to be in yet, of course, with the Palace thing. They're either going to be in Conference League or Europa League. And I like Forest. I think they're a good team. And it wouldn't shock me if they finish lower than this with the European competitions. But yeah, I had Forest 8th. I had Man United 9th when I did mine. And again, that's a big jump. If you jump 6 places in one Premier League season, like that's a hefty leap. And they're so far off it that they're going to have to rebuild a little bit. Like I say, they finished 15th on 42 points. Like that's absurd, really, for a club the size of Man United. You know what I mean? What was it? It was, in the end, the bottom 3 were miles off it, so they were never really in relegation battle. But in any other year, like that could be relegation battling form because that's how bad they were. So I had United lower than that, and then Forest. I do think when teams go into Europe for the first time, and obviously in recent history, I know Forest have been in Europe before and done very, very well in it. I think that can be a struggle sometimes. And again, they've done well to keep Gibbs White. I don't know how happy he is. That interview when it looks like he's almost being held hostage by the owner was a bit of an eye opener. So fair play to them for holding on to him, because that would have been a massive blow. But yeah, I like them, and I think they are very well organised, and they're so difficult to score against, and that'll do them well. But yeah, I had Forest just slipping down a little bit with their European commitments.
Craig, what about you, mate?
You just give me something to think about then, because I was thinking about that. What Big Steve said about Man United. I think they might go up a little bit better than what they did last season. Because another season that could have been relegation if it weren't for the, how poor the bottom 3 were. But yeah, now you just mentioned Forest and them being in Europe. It is a difficult thing because there's that notorious, isn't there, when you play in Europe and then the game after you drop points a lot of the time, unless you've got a big enough squad. So yeah, I'd probably go with Man United though, because I think that they will. I don't think they'll have enough to get in. They've got that team. There's something going on with that club that just because they've got some decent players come through the door, it's not going to catapult them back into the top 4.
Absolutely not. They've still got an honour in goal as well. I've gone for Brighton just missing out, so I've still gone for Man United lower than what you had, but then this was before they signed Mbeumo and Sesko. I've gone Brighton just missing out. I think they got a good core squad, couple additions. They just missed out last season. I think they'll just miss out again this season. But who's going to get into it though? Who's going to get that 7th place? I'll go to you, Steve.
I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't know. I don't know if Newcastle are gonna be as strong as they think they're gonna be. I mean, if they lose Isak, it doesn't look like anyone wants to go there at the minute. Who they want, you know what I mean? And it's a massive pair of boots to fill in Isak, and I just feel like they might not have a good season. Newcastle, I could see them just missing out on that myself, but. At the minute, it's hard to say because the window's not finished, and I think there's going to be a lot of movement come near the end. But I think Newcastle could just struggle a little bit this season. I think at the minute, it's not their own fault. The striker's head's been turned. He's definitely leaving. You know what I mean? They've gone for a few players now, and they just don't fancy that Newcastle project. I think Newcastle have got their hands tied. It's a shame, you know what I mean? A whole different subject is the financial fair play we speak about, but it's a bit mad when a team can owe zero to anyone and can't spend. And we've got Man United sacking dinner ladies and saying that in another 18 months they would have had no cash, and then they're going out throwing 300 million. So if I'm a Newcastle fan, I'm a bit pissed off with that. But I think the Premier League's a mess with that. But I think Newcastle are going to struggle. I don't think they get the striker of the level they've had before, and I feel like they're going to struggle.
Craig?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point that though. Yeah, because if Newcastle don't get, I don't think they'll be able to get a striker that's at Isak's level. Because there's no, I don't think there's a striker out there that's available that's his level that they could go and buy. And like you say, it's a good point. I've been banging on about it all this window, haven't I? With the restrictions that Man United were saying that they were putting on things and cutting costs and what have you. Where have they got all this money from just to throw at these players? I don't understand it, but I mean, welcome to the Premier League, I guess.
That whole new PSR rules in it, new dates that have come in that allows you to have a little bit more wiggle room.
Yeah, but
What about you?
Well, my take on it though is I think that Thomas Frank will get Tottenham back up into that top 10, so maybe they'll finish around that 7th place.
What about you, Steve?
Yeah, I have gone for Tottenham as well, actually in 7th, which, sorry to Aston Villa fans, I had them just missing out again a little bit. The Newcastle one's interesting, like I said, that is so Isak dependent. I hope he isn't there, because obviously it'll go well for my football team. So that is a big one, but yeah, I think I'm a big Thomas Frank believer. And I think that I like Tottenham's squad and Tottenham's team. The Maddison injury the other day is a big blow, so they're going to have to do something there. Again, that might be a Liverpool player. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Harvey Elliott going and filling that role. I know they've lost Son, but it wasn't really Son that we saw last year. You know, the Son that terrorised my team and especially Steve's team on numerous occasions. That it wasn't the same Son last year. So I don't think that's as big a blow as it would have been if he'd lost him, 5 years ago or whatever, when he was one of the great Premier League wingers. He was a superstar. So I believe in Thomas Frank. I think, again, I understand they won the trophy, so fair play to Ange, but, that squad was never a 17th place squad. I know, and the injuries, and there was loads of things going on, I get it, but I have Tottenham, that's a massive jump, by the way, because that is 38. You're almost looking at, like, I mentioned before about Man United maybe struggling to get 19 extra points. This Tottenham team, they'd have to get somewhere like 25 extra points, but that's how bad I think Ange was, and that's how good I think some of their team can be. And again, the injury luck was horrendous. You'd like to hope for their sake that isn't going to happen again. Yeah, I had Tottenham just squeaking into that 7th place. They've got Champions League, so it's not going to be easy for them with the turnaround. Yeah, again, maybe that's optimistic on my behalf, but maybe I'm just too high on Thomas Frank. I think he's the manager of Man United. He should have went for Thomas Frank, so I'm going to stick them in 7th.
I'm going to absolutely up you then. I've gone Villa 7th, Spurs 6th. Yes, I know that's an even bigger jump. I just think new manager, new system, couple of extra players that they've been looking towards getting. I think Spurs just pipped them, and obviously, like I said, Thomas Frank, such a good manager as well. I think Villa, especially if they keep Watkins, I know Watkins has been linked with other clubs as well, but if they can keep Watkins, I think they get 7th, but then potentially they could miss out as well.
I think Villa are going to win the Europa League. That's what Unai Emery does.
Yeah.
And I think towards the end of the season, you'd probably. That's the only reason it's all guesswork, isn't it? But I think English teams in those competitions are so much stronger than Europe at the moment. Premier League teams are dominating the European competitions to a certain extent. Again, Champions League last year was a bit different, although we did have a team in the semi-finals, but especially I think the Conference League and the Europa League, I think the English teams are massive favourites in those competitions now, given the strength and the type of squads we can get in the rotation. I have Villa winning that, which is why I think their league form is going to dip off a little bit, but I'm sure they'll be delighted. If you offer Aston Villa fans the Europa League next season, they'll bite your hand off.
Absolutely. I think the same with Spurs, won the league and then won the Europa League, but got 17th.
And Villa are miles better than Spurs.
Yeah.
at this moment in time, squad to squad. Now, again, I think Spurs are going to be better next year, but you are right. You're right to mention Ollie Watkins. There looks to be something's not quite right there, with the Ollie Watkins thing. Like it feels like he is available for somebody to go and take, which will, again, that's a lot of goals if he does leave.
Potentially, then, if Isak moves from Newcastle, Ollie Watkins to Newcastle, I think if you're looking at who could be a right fit, I think he would be an ideal candidate as well.
Just think the Geordies won't have it though. Like, I mean, if you're losing your main man, the stature of him, the fans are going to demand someone. Like with Sesko, he's up and coming, so you can sort of think, right, well, we've put all our eggs on him. Watkins is proven striker, but his age, and I feel like in another couple of years, you'd be going out and replacing him again. You know what I mean? So I feel like they need to be the link with the kid from Porto. That's Samu, is it? I think the link with him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 21. He's up and coming. I think the Geordies would buy into it and probably say, you know what, he's one of Europe's hottest properties. We've gone for him. I think they'd accept that. But to go and get I think actually Manchester United needed more of an Ollie Watkins for now than what they do. But United needed also to show a bit of ambition and stop signing these older type players where they get them so far and then they have to start the cycle again. So they went and nicked Sesko. So it's going to be interesting, I think, next few weeks. I think one big move, probably the Isak move, will pull the trigger, and I think a lot of clubs will start moving then and getting people out of there. But I think with Watkins, I think the Marcus Rashford situation didn't help. I think he came in and basically took his place, and I think it upset the apple cart at Villa. And now I think he's an unhappy striker. I think he wants to move.
Be interested to see who does get him. Big Steve, who do you think then gets sixth space then?
Probably Spurs. I know we were saying about it being, a big jump, but I do feel like it was unfortunate last year. The squad is a lot better than what it shows. And Thomas Frank is a great manager. And I think one thing Tottenham needed was somebody to just knit it all together. It almost looks like a bit of a mismatch of a football club at times. Don't really get what they're about or which direction they're going in. And Ange, I thought, he won the Europa League, but in the Premier League, even his press conferences, he just looked out of his depth week in, week out at that level. He just looked like he was a nice guy and he talked very well, but a lot of it was nonsense. You know what I mean? A lot of Spurs fans were like, he ain't got a clue. Thomas Frank, we know we can build a team on a bit of a budget, and we know he's got that. He brings this sort of like togetherness to the club. You look at Brentford, for the size of Brentford, they were punching above the weight, but the club was all one. Fans, team, United looked like a solid outfit. They came to many a big team. They come to the Etihad and beat us and stuff. So I feel like with a bigger budget, that's finally got his chance to show. And I feel like Tottenham will be all right. So I think they'll be up there,
Yeah, especially if they do get Visser as well, which I know Thomas Frank is a fan of. Craig, who do you think's getting sick?
I'm just trying to think of it. You're probably going to have to say, because I said Tottenham would be up there, didn't I? But
yeah,
you have to say it's going to be between Tottenham and Villa, I reckon. I couldn't say who. Because, like I said, I think the last week of the window being open, a lot of stuff's going to happen where, players will be moving, which could weaken teams, which, and strengthen others. And we'll see what happens by then.
Yeah, obviously we are recording this on the 9th, so anything can happen between now and the 1st of September. Steve, who have you got 6th place?
This is where I put Newcastle. I don't see them dropping too far. I think their midfield's way too good. I think their midfield's fantastic. I think it wins games by itself. Isak, again, I hope he leaves, but there's no guarantee he does yet. And if he doesn't, that will help him. If he does, I think Visa's probably going to go there, it looks like. And then if he can get one more in, I still think that they won't be as good, of course. And I know Anthony Gordon got injured today, so they don't have to keep an eye on that one. But by all accounts, he's going to be all right. But I don't know who's going to be in goal for them. It probably shouldn't be Aaron Ramsdale, but so they're going to have to figure that out as well. But they're strong. I think they're very strong at the back. They're going to sign Tour from AC Milan. Looks like he's all but done as well. So I think their defensive shape and their midfield's excellent. It's as good as anyone's in the league. That three, it's that's like as good as City, as good as Liverpool. It's that standard, as good as Arsenal. So I think that's almost like a flaw for Newcastle, really, when you're those players that good. So I see them dropping out, like say sixth is disappointing. Obviously, after they're playing Champions League and they'll have wanted to do that again. But yeah, I do think it has been a very rocky summer for them. Obviously, I think 7 strikers have turned them down. Their best player wants to leave. They found it really tough, and you've got to think that would have some type of impact on things. So I'm going to go Newcastle in sixth.
That's interesting. I've got them. So I've gone fifth, but I've got the top 5. The way I see it is, I think it's going to be the most exciting race for the title, and I can see all these 5 teams that I've got in there battling for it. But then it'll be just like near the end of the season where they just slowly drop out, and then it'll be the top 2 near the end, like last game of the season. Big Steve, who have you got fifth?
I went with Villa. I just feel like the striker situation will need to be sorted out. I don't think Watkins are going to stay there. I think they're going to have to change that. But overall, they've not got a bad squad. You know what I mean? The manager as well, he ticks it for me. I think he dropped off a little bit last season. But I think this season they could have a steady season and go again. But it's like you say, it's tough. You could pick anyone between, Villa, Tottenham, United, Forest. To be in the mix. It's just you just got to see this final month now to see who gets the better transfer window, in my opinion. But on today, I chose Villa, so that's why I see him finishing fifth.
Steve?
This might be the biggest one so far because I don't think anyone's mentioned Brighton yet. And if anyone's worked out what I've been speaking about, I had Villa dropping down a little bit. I didn't have Man United there. I know Brighton finished 8th last year, and it kind of was up and down, but I really like Brighton, and I like how they go about things. I like the manager. They've had a real interesting window because they've signed lots of young players, so you've got to be careful with and maybe I'm going to be proven completely wrong on this one, and it all goes to wrong. I wouldn't be shocked either way, but I've just got a sneaky feeling the manager's kind of getting the team that he wants now. Obviously, they were happy to let Evan Ferguson go. They went a smart sign. It's like £30 million, isn't it, on a 18-year-old centre forward? So yeah, maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit too much, but for to make it interesting, I think now fifth is probably Champions League as well. You would guess usually the way this thing works, not guaranteed yet, but it probably will be. So I've gone Brighton. I'm fascinated by this youth thing that they've gone for. I'm just looking here now the signings. 18, 24, 19, 21, 18. That's the ages of the players they've signed. So maybe I'm being a little bit foolish and young players can't quite do it. But the energy that team plays with under Hazel, that manager, I'm a big fan. So I'm going to say Brighton sneak into fifth.
It's just that Belieber, innit? If they lose Belieber to United.
Yeah, that's a tough one. If that happens, mate, I would change my mind 100%.
Yeah,
I think the noise is out of that one or that. I mean, you mentioned before, Man United, they find this money out of somewhere. They might sack another few, PAs or something. Brighton don't sell cheap. You'd have to be looking at the Casado type money, 100 million plus, wouldn't you, for Brighton to even be tempted? And even at this point, I just don't think Man United have quite got that yet. But you are right. If they sell Belieber, then this conversation changes. I would have them struggling to they'd be more like 7th, 8th, 9th range. I would think he's that good.
To be fair, with Brighton, they'll just go and buy some other 19-year-old for about 5 million. They'll turn him into a 100 million player, or they'll probably be one of the players they had out on loan last season. They'll just chuck in and just be even better because that's what they seem to be doing at the moment. I kind of agree with you because I do like the Cooper. I probably pronounced that wrong. That they bought from Club Brugge. He's a decent player. I had him just missing out, but again, I've had top 5 all being close, so I wouldn't be surprised if the rest of the teams, like the lower half, 14 down, fighting for relegation, than anything higher, fighting for Europe. I think that this season will be much more exciting and a lot closer than last season. Craig, who have you got in 5th place?
I'd go for Newcastle 5th. I think if they obviously if they lose Isaac, I mean, like Steve said before, the midfield's too good. It's too good. Yeah, I think they'll replace goals, but not the amount of goals that Isaac scores.
No.
if they lost him. But yeah,
I like Elanga as well, by the way, Craig. I think he's a good sign.
yeah. Elanga will do well. I just think that Isak's too good a quality to replace. Like, there's not many strikers out there at that level, and they will get someone in that can score goals if they do lose him. But I think 5th place is where they sit.
When you've already got a decent mid, obviously Elanga, Gordon, you've got that attacking presence from midfield that can create chances anyway. Corners as well. The guy that they're signing from AC Milan, decent player. But again, it's if you can get an out-and-out goal scorer as well, add into it, it just makes it so much more entertaining to watch. And I think when you've got that attacking flair and creativity behind you, you're going to get chances anyway. I'm not going to say pull someone from League 2 and they'll score 20 goals, but a half-decent striker that's either up-and-coming or proven will do the job.
I think Visa will do well if he goes. I think he's.
Yeah.
I think it's what Steve said before. It's very short term. He's old. He's like 28, isn't he? So, but I think that's fine for Newcastle. Again, the only reason I had them dropping down slightly was a little bit like I mentioned before. Like I do think Champions League is tough at this point. You know, we saw that with them last time they were in the Champions League. They actually put up a good fight. Obviously the format's changed, but they finished bottom of that group and it did affect their Premier League form a little bit. Because I mentioned before, I think the midfield's fantastic, but they haven't quite got that strength in depth. And I say this fully aware that I'm sitting with this live bird on my chest here, but like if they sell Isak for like £130 million, they go and buy Visa and they go and buy another striker for like what's that? Maybe a combined 50-60 million pounds. There's like £100 million there where they can go and buy 2 players because they have a really good 11, but the bench isn't great. They've seen that all over in quite a few positions. They're okay at the back, but in other areas you look at what they've got, you know, and they haven't quite got there. So I do think that, again, it might work out for them. I say that knowing quite well it's what I want to happen. So I think that, again, I wouldn't be shocked if I'm sat here in a year's time and it was Brighton who finished 8th, 9th and it was Newcastle who finished 5th, because I go back to it, I think they've got a really good 11. It's just that squad and this Champions League, and you know, we found this out last year, didn't we? Like the extra couple of games really do make an impact on it, and you play better teams. That's the way this thing works out. Usually Liverpool or City or Newcastle, you'd be a higher seed and then you get to play a couple of minnows. It doesn't really work like that anymore. You play a couple of good seeds and a couple of lesser ones. And I think, you know, Newcastle got really unlucky last time with that group of death they got into, and it really hampered them. And that's my concern for them. So yeah, sell us Isak, lads. Go and invest the money in a couple of squad players, and everyone will be fine.
I read an interesting article about Newcastle, the situation with Isak, that if they do sell him for that kind of money, it sort of loosens the shackles of that PSR for about 4 years and frees them up to spend something ridiculous. So on one hand, you're losing your best player, but on the other hand, if you can invest 300 or 400 million across the squad, which is already a decent squad, then it might be a win-win for them, you know what I mean? So it's not like they're taking Isak and we're struggling and we can only spend X amount. It looks like it might actually free him up to spend a bit more. So, you know, I know you don't want to lose him, but, you know, on the other side of the coin, it might work out a good thing for them in the long run, you know.
It's wages as well, isn't it, over a period of time. I don't know if he had any clauses with his old club or not, but it's the same with Liverpool. They got, apparently, I read or heard somewhere, they got 400 million to spend and they're still fine, regardless of what happens. Obviously, commercial, cup competitions as well. I think if you sell a player of Isak's quality and you can bring in players that will replace him for, say, half the price, and then you can invest elsewhere, like new left back, new right back, goalkeeper. Their mid's already sorted and their centre backs are pretty decent anyway, so. And then you add squad depth to that midfield. Obviously, they've lost Longstaff to us, but if you bring in somebody that's even better that can replace a Tonali or Joelinton that gets injured, it's a win-win.
We did it with Coutinho, Mike. That was exactly what we did. We saw Phil Coutinho, probably one of our best players, go and sign Alisson, go and sign Van Dijk, and it can work. Like I understand Newcastle fans' frustration. Like, yeah, you don't want your player kicking off. We didn't like it when someone done it to us. But it can work out in the fact that you're probably not going to get a striker as good as him. We didn't get a winger / midfielder quite as like Phil Coutinho. We changed how we played. We became much more solid in midfield. You know, Wijnaldum, Fabinho, Henderson became like a trio, and then let that mad from free go and do what it's doing. But it allowed us to go and invest that money in, again, the best defender and one of the best defenders ever, and a wonderful goalkeeper as well. So it can work out for them. The issue they've got is what Steve mentioned before. Are they shopping out of their market? And I don't mean that disrespectfully, and hopefully it doesn't come across the way, but they keep getting beaten to players by Chelsea and Man United, you know, Arsenal's and things like that. And that can be tough. Maybe you do have to step down a little bit and go, you know, again, look how Liverpool built their Premier League winning team. Very few of them came from what you would call massive elite clubs, or, you know, and we weren't really battling for too many of them. You know, there wasn't like a bidding war for Mo Salah. Not everybody was in for Sadio Mane, and, you know, Steele say the same thing. When Everton sold John Stones to Man City, it wasn't like City needed to go and beat off 5 or 6 different teams. You know, it's getting those players where you get the deal done before it becomes this big saga. Because Newcastle, I don't know if agents are playing them or the club, or there's something about they haven't got a sporting director, and I think Eddie Howe's mate or relatives in charge or whatever. You know, you can't be losing out on 7 forwards. Like, something's gone massively wrong there. So it'll be interesting to see how because it's all well and good saying go and sell Isak and invest the money, but they haven't had a great time of investing that money so far this summer. It's been a little bit hairy for them. So that is something to keep an eye on as well. It isn't always, we're all saying, yeah, it could work out, but you look at the other way, it can go massively wrong. You know, you've got to get your recruitment right as well.
Tottenham did it. Gareth Bale money, they wasted it. Eric Lamela, people like that, it was nowhere near good enough for him. It set them back years, and that's what I'm saying. The recruitment has got to be right. We speak about United, and their biggest problem over the last 10 years has been recruitment. You know, you've been getting, Ibrahimovic was a good player, to be fair, but you're getting Igalo, Weghorst, you're getting Falcao, Schweinsteiger, Di Maria. You're getting all these players, and it's almost like they're throwing the fans a bone. You know, like, oh, we're signing Falcao, and it's like, yeah, but take a step back. He should never be playing for Man United at that stage of his career. You know,
Cristiano's the same.
Schweinsteiger should never be near at Manchester United, and this is what they're doing. And now they need to freshen it up. And like you say, Newcastle, it's all right having the money, like Steve said, but you've got to get it right, man. You've got to get it right. If you get it wrong, you could be back to square one again with no saleable assets and a hefty wage bill and players that don't want to move.
I think that's where Man United are going to be next season, because if that don't work out for them, is Sesko going to stay? Is Mbeumo going to want to stay? You know, I mean, Sesko's chose Man United over Newcastle, and Newcastle have got European football, and they aren't. Like, that baffles me why he's gone there.
Do you know why he's gone there? For me, do you know why he's gone there? Because if he goes to Newcastle to replace Isaac, they're massive boots to fill, yeah. And you've got to go in the Champions League, and you've got to finish up in the Champions League exactly where Newcastle was. Otherwise, he's going to be classed as a failure. If he goes to Manchester United and scores 15 goals and they finish mid-table, he's had a great season. There's no pressure on him. That Højlund shit, Joshua Zirkzee shit. So he's literally thinking, you know what, I can go there, it's Man United, I can claim it's the biggest club in the world and all that, and I can sort of I can ease myself into the Premier League with no stress. Goes to Newcastle, you got 60,000 Geordies, they're going to on his neck if he doesn't start scoring straight away.
Well, I was thinking along the lines of, you know, when you said that like Ollie Watkins would be like a year or two signing for him, and it's not long term, or even Visser. But I was thinking maybe if they signed a Visser or Ollie Watkins, just, you know, to stable, like a decent forward that can score goals, and then if Sesko has a good season next season, but Man U don't make it to where they want to be, he's available then for them to go, right, well, he can do it, and then they'll throw that ease out money at him.
You got to think as well, it's World Cup season as well, or World Cup year. I think they made it so if you think he goes to Newcastle, it's a longer season for his legs. He's still young. If he's not used to playing week in, week out, 2-3 games, plus all the cup games, say Newcastle get to semi-finals of League Cup and the FA Cup, you got that to contend with as well. He could be thinking that
his best striker in that international is their number one striker, isn't it?
Yeah, but it might then be a burnout for him. He might be too injured. He might get injured. He might get too worn out. And I understand that these days players do are playing 2-3 games a week, but in his mind, he might think World Cup year that I need to have a not an off season, but like a calmer season than what it would be at Newcastle. Again, that's just my thoughts. Big Steve, did you say who you think was going to get fifth?
Yeah, I said Villa.
Villa. Who's going to get fourth then, Big Steve?
I'm going to say Chelsea. I feel like I feel like they're a problem. They're a problem, Chelsea now. I mean, it's mad how they've gone about things. I mean, I'm just saying it from my point of view because for every show I've been on for the last 5 years, City's been just branded, oh, you've cheated, you've done this, you've done that, you've done this. They blatantly, literally just don't give a shit. Sell the hotels back to themselves, sell the women's team off, just get a fine of 40 million financial fair play and then go and win the World Club Cup. And like, they're buying every young kid you can imagine going for it. I feel like last year, Chelsea's spending was just mad. They were signing João Felix, didn't really want him. They're trying to loan him out. Trevor Chalobah was getting palmed off. It looked like a bit of a mismatch. And I've got to give credit to Maresca because I feel like he steadied the ship and he got them to, he got them to the Champions League. They won the Conference League and they've won this World Club Cup. I feel this year now you can sort of see them building a decent squad. I mean, Maresca was at City. He's got a lot of Manchester City ex under 21 players that he's brought in there. Bruno Ngo Gittins and Palmer and all them, but then he's added João Pedro. They're going to add probably Javi Simmons. The Brazilian kid they've got, Estevao, is a fantastic talent. They've also started doing the multi-club ownership with Strasbourg, where they've got Kendrick Paez and all them out on loan. So this season for Chelsea, I feel like fourth, but I can see next season and beyond them being a bit of a problem, to be fair.
Steve, what about you?
Yeah, I think the Club World Cup might hinder them a little bit, and that's again the same for City, maybe a little bit for City. City obviously went out a little bit earlier, but the Colwell injury is massive. I don't think even with him, I thought the centre back options were a bit dicey. Obviously, losing him for what looks like pretty much the whole season is a tough one. Obviously, they're going to probably sell Nicholas Jackson again. He might end up at Newcastle, but João Pedro's is an improvement. They've got Liam Delap, who I like, a little bit of a backup as well. I'm a big fan of Gittins, who they just signed from Dortmund. I like him a lot. And then Steve mentioned before, they might get Xavi Simmons as well. So there's a lot going on at Chelsea, and I'm my general philosophy on transfers is you do too many and it doesn't work out. But Chelsea are the exceptions to that rule. They can sign. They just seem to find a way to make it work, and they have done for a while. Whether it's selling the women's team or selling the hotel, or they'll figure something out, and they do sell well as well. It's worth mentioning. Everyone talk about like all these players they bring in, but they got 50 odd million quid for Madueke. They got 30 odd so for João Felix, and even want. So they do balance the books a little bit in that way. I saw Everton sign Dewsbury all that, like £20 million, that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of books getting crossed, and I don't know. I'm not going to accuse them of anything, but it doesn't seem logical, but it tends to work. I actually think if it wasn't for going so far in the Club World Cup and for Levi Colwell's injury, I'd have had them maybe pushing higher than fourth. But I agree. I think fourth's about right for them. We don't know. And there's a school of thought, actually, the Club World Cup, the players are being used to playing. They might just hit the ground running but they've had a little bit of a break, and it goes a little bit up and down. So I think towards the end of the season, you might see that impact Chelsea a little bit. The fact that they played all summer. And like I say, I think that injury's bad. So I'm going to put them as fourth as well.
I think third and fourth is going to be very, very close again, like I just said. Plus, they got Hato as well from Ajax, decent left back, can play centre back as well.
He's young still. He is a good player. He's raw, and he might go in at centre back now, perhaps.
Yeah,
they might go again. I think I saw Maresca say the other day that they're going to try and go into the centre half market, and that Gay obviously has got Chelsea links. Maybe he goes back or something. So wait and see on that one. But yeah, I think the Achilles heel of Chelsea last season was the goalkeeper and the centre halves, and they haven't really addressed. That's one of the areas they haven't really addressed, unless you think Hato's going to come in straight away at 19 and play, which feels a little bit of a stretch at this point.
I've got Chelsea fourth as well. Craig, what about you?
Yeah, I'm torn between, because I think it's going to be a close one between third and fourth, but I'm torn between them because if their signings do it the ground running and, you know, they could have a fantastic season, they could get third place, but I do agree. I think it might be a season for them to get together and get fourth place. But yeah, they're playing Football Manager at the minute. That's how it feels to me. When I used to this is the kind of model that I used to do, is buy loads of young up and coming players, loan them out, and sell them on for loads of money to make my bank balance better. And it seems that's what Chelsea are doing. So
Did you sell your women's team in your hotel as well, Craig?
no, I didn't have one then. But it's blatant. It's just showing the gaps in the rules, isn't it? It's just blatantly showing it. They're not breaking rules. They're just showing the gaps. And
I admire it. I admire the brazenness of it, just to do it and like unashamedly do it, kind of thing. Fair enough.
If the Premier League are not going to plug it, though,
if they won the league, everyone would be going mad about it, saying, "Oh, you cheats, this, that, and the other," because they're not winning anything in the Premier League. No one's really that arsed. Everyone's just letting them get away with it. But this FFP thing, you know, we've got a massive cloud over City with this court case. It's been dragging on far too long. You know, we want to know what's going on. The Premier League, I just think they're making a rod for their own back. They're bringing in these rules, and teams have got legal teams that are going to find loopholes to get round it. For me, I've got no qualms with anyone spending money. I've got especially not got qualms with an owner coming in a club and wanting to spend their own money. Because, I mean, football's always been a pecking order. For years, we knew where you stood. Unless your team got bought out, like a Blackburn or a City, you basically knew where you was. Every now and then, you'd spend a bit of dough. Hopefully, you'd get it right. But then if someone bigger came along and took them, you let them go, and then you moved on. Now, it's literally like we said, the Man United, for example. If this financial fair play was debt-based, which it should be, in my opinion, if your club is in X amount of debt, you cannot spend until you bring it up to a level which is manageable. I know they say the Man United debt is manageable, but come on, there's teams that don't owe anyone a penny that have got handcuffs on and can't. So it's not right. It doesn't work. It needs to be changed. You either have to scrap it, because it's the only business in the world where you're not allowed to invest in your own business, if you know what I mean. If I buy a shop and Steve's got a shop across the road and I've got 5 vans and he's got 1, he can't go moan that I've got 5 vans. So then they say, "Listen, mate, you're going to have to get rid of 4 of them vans. You've got to be fair with Steve over the road." It's fucking weird. So it's like, I know we don't like it, and you know, you might think certain teams are mental, but Manchester City, when you look at what they did, we had to get to a certain level because these rules were coming in. We had to excel our spending, otherwise we're going to get handcuffed. So they did it. And then now City's model, a lot of teams follow it, you know, by the youngsters, the sell-on clauses, the academies producing money, etc., etc. But if you was a Newcastle fan or a Villa fan, I mean, Villa had a great season the other year, got to the Champions League and have to sell players. It's just, you're sort of like getting punished for how good you're doing. And then Man United can be absolute shit, but just do what they want. And it's like mental. It's just mental to me.
That's like what you did when you first went up to the Premier League, though, isn't it? You just went mad and got a foothold in it. I mean, what newly promoted teams sign players like Robinho and players like that, because they could offer wages, couldn't they? And
yeah, well, with Robinho, I mean, we'd been in the Premier League a few years before that, but Robinho we had to go through a mercenary stage for me, where people didn't know whether, I mean, us as fans didn't know whether Sheikh Mansour was the real deal. We were used to faxing Shinawatra, who had no money and stuff like that. So when we started signing Robinho, it looks good on paper, but you get in Adebayors of this world, and they all had baggage and they all had attitude, which wasn't going to win you a lot. But then all of a sudden, when you pull Tevez in from United, then you're signing David Silva, Yaya Toure. That's a different caliber of player. And then when you throw a manager in like Mancini instead of a Mark Hughes, it started to go different. But we had to take a good few years of sort of players taking us serious, and we had to go through them all. But at the minute, the Premier League, it's just like you say, it's just mad. If I was a Villa and Newcastle fan, you're almost getting punished for how good you are.
Yeah, because I mean that top 3 or 4 could all change if Newcastle were allowed to just spend what they can spend.
I know, and I mean,
But then,
I can only talk from my experience. So I've got City. I mean, City back in the day when the Premier League started, Man City broke the transfer record for defenders both in the same year. We signed Keith Curle and Terry Phelan, $2.5 million. We signed Trevor Francis for over $1 million back in the day, and Steve Daly was the first £1 million, one of the first £1 million players and stuff like that. So City always had a bit of dough. I don't know where we got it from, but we always had a bit. So we sort of was there or thereabouts. And then we got Sheikh Mansour, and it became mad. And like you say, it's enjoyable and great. But City, they had to do it to build something. Now, if you watch City, they'll over the years they only used to have 1 or 2 players because the team was decent. If your team's decent, you only had 1 or 2. We're in a transitional period that now January and last season and now we need to add players because we took the eye off the ball. We're usually quite good at switching the players and getting rid of them. We didn't. We kept on to too many for one more season, thinking when we won 4 in a row, we were thinking we'll win 5 in a row here. Because nobody expected Liverpool to be where they was, and I think City looked at Arsenal and thought we'll do Arsenal with this team we've got now, and it didn't work out, and we ended up with Rodri injured, and then we're panicking. So we're in this transitional phase now. So seeing Man City sign 6 or 7 players in a year, it's not been heard of for years. You know what I mean? It doesn't work like that, but that's where we are.
yeah, who's getting third? I think obviously we've all said that Chelsea are going to get 4th or 3rd. I'm going to go to you two first, Steves. Do you think Liverpool or Man City could get 3rd, or is it just going to be Arsenal? Big Steve, I'll go to you first. Or Steve.
Well, I'll go. I think City finish 3rd again. I think the Club World Cup thing's a thing. The Rodri injury is definitely. I know it's only. He said maybe after the international break, but that's a bit of a concern. You'd hope that from City's point of view, you'd want him fit and firing straight away. He's the level. It's such a difference between one and the other. I like what City have done, and I like some of the signings they've made. Especially, I actually like the January signings a little bit better maybe than this one. But I don't know. I don't quite know if they've done just about enough to catch Arsenal just yet. I think it might be close. That might spoil who I think's going to win the league. I think it'll be tight. I think it'll be relative. I don't think Liverpool will, if they do win, it would storm away. I think actually maybe a little bit closer than what it was last year because Liverpool won the league very early on. It was almost a procession from the turn of the year. But I don't know, Steve, are you happy with the transfer business? You mentioned before there's gaps to fill. It just feels like you, and Liverpool went through this again, different. Liverpool hadn't had the sustained success Man City had. You keep your players for ages because they've won your stuff and you rely on them and you keep going, and all of a sudden you wake up and they can't run anymore and you're like, oh geez. And City have started to address that because they did it a little bit, with Marmoush and Gonzalez and stuff, but it feels like all the centre-halves are in that boat a little bit. You mentioned Gundogan before, Bernardo Silva. It just feels like it's maybe one more year and then they'll get their business right this year. They'll do more in January and then maybe next year is where I think City come back to being the City where, they're the best team again. But that's my hope anyway. I'm scarred by this team. But yeah, I just think it just feels like it needs too much work to be done in one, 18 months or so. So I'm going to say 3rd. I don't know. Steve might massively disagree.
Yeah, I don't think we finished 3rd. But you're right what you're saying. There's a few gaps. The only thing is we have to trim the squad. There's like 32 players. He's not going to keep them. He's just played a friendly tonight. He's done 11-11. He left probably 4 or 5 at home. One thing is, last season for us was the poorest we've been for a long time. And I think we finished 3 points off Arsenal. And with a Rodri coming back in and the Reinders and the ways the defence does look shaky, admit it. But what was happening last year, you could almost predict the way Man City would play. If we came up against a team with a low block, it was Ruben Diaz and Manuel Akanji on the edge of their box. And it was side to side, Jeremy Doku, Savinho, and Haaland being locked up in the middle and nothing happening. what you've got now is, especially seen it tonight, first half. You've got Ray and Cherky driving the ball into the midfield. You've got Eight Niori on the overlap. You've got people coming inside. It looks totally different from what we've been used to last year. But then we are susceptible to that long pass from the back, which leaves Ruben Diaz exposed because he's not got the pace. I think we need a right back. We can't play Mateus Nunes or Rico Lewis at right back. I think we definitely need a right back. But I think we'll be all right. I feel like one big thing with City is the mentality that Pep's got. And I feel like if anyone's top of the league if anyone's top of the league last 10 games and Manchester City are 6 behind, 4 behind, I feel like they know then that this team's going to come. And that's when I'm confident myself, thinking, you know what, we'll catch them. If we're 7, 9, 12 behind, we're not going to do it, I feel Arsenal have a mentality issue. Not just a player issue, they have a mentality issue. Gets towards that business end of the season, the fans get giddy again, all start jumping around, swinging off the lampshades, and they put too much pressure on them. Next minute, they've been beat off Sunderland at home. They've gone and drawn at Brighton. And then all of a sudden, that's it. I feel City and Liverpool don't do that. I think once City and Liverpool see the end of the line, it's a straight shootout. Klopp and Pep. How can you get 99 points and fucking not win it? You know what I mean? These are the kind of levels that these two teams took themselves to. And Liverpool are the ones now where we need to get to that level. We seen them run away with it last year. Pep's got to say to the players, that's where you've got to go for it now. We need to be up there with them. And I feel like he's going to do it. But I think a lot of things went wrong last year. We wasn't good enough. Rodri injury was massive because he's a big part of what we do. Pep's misses fucked off and he started scratching his bonds and looking like he would have a meltdown. And then Liverpool ran away with the league. So it all went to shit. So this season, I'm hoping that A, don't go to shit. B, Pep's misses has come back so everyone's happy. And Rodri, just give him a month to let him get 100% right and then we'll be all right. But Reinders, for me, fantastic. I watched him tonight, second half, scored 2 goals, should have had that trick, rounded the goalkeeper and fell over. But he's just a player that I feel freshens up the whole midfield. He's arriving late in the box, he's scoring. And Ray and Cherky, I think we've got a little bit of a maverick on our hands, whether Pep will tolerate him, because I feel some games he's going to down tools, walk around, sulk. And I think some games he's going to blow the roof off and do something mad and everyone's going to go, fucking hell, that was unbelievable. But it's whether Pep will tolerate that,
Can I ask a question very quick? Who's going to be in goal?
Ederson. I think for me, Ederson's got 1 year left, and I think Trafford will shadow him. Reason why, I watched the game tonight. Trafford first half, the ball coming out from the back, he got caught twice by the pressing striker with the ball in his feet. It ricocheted off him for a corner and that. And then the second half, Ederson just literally, you know what he's like. He'll ping it over the defender. He'll knock it around. I think Trafford's just got to get that side of his game sorted. And I think he's accepted it. I think Trafford will know. He's going to fight in the season for it. But I definitely see Ederson number 1.
So, yeah, I mean, I saw a fair bit of Trafford last season. I think he is a top quality keeper. But obviously, like I say, you got Ederson, who is also one of the best keepers in the world anyway. So it is really hard. And I think the way you've just said it, they're coming towards the end of his career, 1 year left. Decent chance to shadow. Maybe second half of the season you switch it around. Obviously, if Trafford's been doing good in cup games or Champions League games, for example, he then may take that number 1 spot towards the end of the season anyway. Definitely a future England number 1 goalkeeper without a shadow of a doubt. I think he is. It's just, I said it a few weeks back, is it too soon? Whereas going to Newcastle, for example, that level would have been perfect. Whereas Man City, it's that higher level. You're battling for titles.
He's always been a bit cocky though with it, because he said when he left that he'll come back and be Man City's number 1 one day. So he's always had that in his head. You know what I mean? And like you say, I think I just listening to Pep's interview before. They said they had a buyback option on him, which is dirt cheap to what he would going to cost us in a few years' time. So I think City just pulled the trigger on it and got him back, and he's happy with what he's doing. But Ederson, for me, a big part of what Man City do is down to Ederson. He's not the best goalkeeper in the world, shot stopper, whatever you want to say. He does make the odd mistake, but for getting us out of that press and getting us back on the front foot and the long ball to Haaland. It's worked. So for me, Eddie deserves his last swan song for me.
Who have you got third overall then? Have you got Man City or have you got Arsenal?
Me,
Yeah,
I've got Arsenal.
Arsenal third.
Yeah, I feel like
Craig, what about you, mate?
I'll go in Arsenal as well, and Steve just explained most of the reasons. So I think recency bias. You look at the meltdown that City had, and that what is it? I can't remember which month it was, but they had that period where they were just losing game after game. And I was just looking at the table. They finished 3 points behind Arsenal, but they won more games than what Arsenal did, and it was just draws. That did it. So with Man City going through that really bad period, they still only finished 3 points behind Arsenal. I can't see with City strengthening with the players that they've got. I can't see Arsenal maintaining that second place.
I've got Arsenal third as well. I think Zubimendi is a fantastic buy for them. It's just the strikers worry me. The same with Liverpool's new, I can't pronounce the name. Ketier, is it?
Ekatike.
I'm terrible with pronouncing surnames. I think players like that, say with Gyökeres coming in, is how they can actually find their foot. Obviously, Gyökeres' numbers at Coventry weren't that great. It was 1 in every 4 games. He goes to Sporting, which is a lesser league, but he's getting more notice. He's scoring more goals because the quality of defence isn't as good as the Championships. So for me, it's how is he actually going to react to playing against Premier League defenders week in, week out? It's a massive step up for him. It's the same as always say, if you hit the ground running, it will be a good buy. But when you're paying 65 million euros, it's going to be a tough ask. Can he hit the ground running? I think for that reason, I think that's why Arsenal miss out on the top, even first place, because he's not going to be the clinical striker that you need. Whereas Man City's got Haaland, for example, whereas Liverpool's got Salah. They've got different options from midfield that's going to create a lot more than what Arsenal will. Yes, they've got Saka, but he doesn't give me that finish article, whereas, yes, Salah's towards his end, but Salah can create a lot more chances and create more opportunities than what he would. Steve, you seem to be in agreement.
The reason I went Arsenal second above City is just the defence. Arsenal's defence, and they just don't concede many goals. I think City have still got a problem there. Now, if City go out and sign a worldy centre-back, I asked about the goalkeeper before because I agree. I think Ederson was a bit of an issue last year as well. In terms, he got dropped, didn't he, as well? I thought it was a problem. And yeah, it's maybe you go to Trafford and accept that he might not be as good on the ball, but maybe saves a few more of those ones. I don't know, but Arsenal's defence, I think, is why I had them second. I think City probably will score more goals, or they should do if Haaland's back to being the cyborg that he is. But Arsenal are just that back four with Zubimendi in front of them as well, who thinks better than Thomas Partey. They are so. It's boring a little bit at times, and they're very rigid, and I'm not sure it's quite good enough to take you to that next level. I like Gyökeres, I think he's a good player. He's certainly an improvement in terms of goal scoring ability than maybe Kai Havertz is. Whether he fits Arsenal again, we're going to have to find that out. But I just think that, with Raya, Gabriel, Saliba, and then whatever you do, whether it's Timber or Lewis Skelly, Calafiori, with then Rice and Zubimendi in front of them, they just don't concede many goals. And that's the only reason. Again, that could change. I go back to it. I don't know if City are linked with any centre backs. I haven't seen massive links to recently. I might have missed something, but if City can go and sort that out, I might change my mind, because I would fancy City to have more firepower. But I don't think Mikel Arteta is the greatest manager ever. I'm a bit more critical of him than some others. He can organise the team to not concede many goals, and then when you do have, Saka, Gyökeres, Martinelli, a bit of Declan Rice, a bit of Odegaard, sometimes they might only need to score 1 or 2. In those big games, sometimes that it doesn't always work out. But yeah, you don't see Arsenal getting beat by 2 or 3 often. So that's the only reason I had them second. But like I say, that the window could change things a little bit if City go out and buy a really good defender.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Craig, who's first and second?
I'm going for Liverpool first and City second. I think this is like a not I don't want to call it a rebuild but it kind of is a rebuild for City. Like you say, the players that have served them so well over the last few seasons, and new ones coming in. I think, but this is the season they start closing that gap a little bit more to Liverpool. But I still think Liverpool win the league.
Big Steve, are you in agreement?
I think we win it, but I mean, Liverpool are a fantastic team. I mean, the signings they've made are unbelievable. Kirkez and Frimpong, both fullbacks sorted out. Florian Wirtz. I like Etikite, whatever he's called. I think he's a great player. Reminds me a little bit like Nicholas Anelka, you know what I mean? He's tall, slim, got that little burst of pace. I think he's perfect. If they get Isak as well over the line, they're almost a perfect team, That's why I say they're the ones to catch. Trying to put a flaw in it, I can't really do it. All I can say is the pressure's now on. That nobody expects him to win it last year. Everyone was thinking Arnie Slot, Uzi. Everyone disrespected him, to be fair. Everyone was like, if Man City slip, Arsenal are genuinely the ones going to take the title, and they didn't. So I feel like the pressure's on them, but I feel like they've bought very, very well. You know what I mean? It's not been a window where you think, how's he going to do? It's literally, they've got a great side. And Mo Salah's still there, Van Dijk's still there. I don't think they miss Trent. I don't think they do. And like I say, Florian Wirtz, I think City wanted him. I'd have him all day. I think he's great. And but I'm looking forward to it. I think that's the level you've got to go to. You've got to. I always had a lot of respect for Jurgen Klopp and the Liverpool team, because the thing is, there was a lot of time where I thought they were a better team than us. I did, genuinely did. But we were just a machine near the end, and we were grinding it out, and we got there by the skin of our teeth. And like Steve said before, you get PTSD off this City team, because sometimes I looked at Liverpool from our side and I thought, fucking hell, we're not going to catch them, man. We're not going to catch them, because they were just winning and winning and winning, and we were winning and winning and winning. But then something Pep's got near the end just gets them over the line. I don't think we've got the players like that anymore. I feel like we've got to get that back in the squad, and I feel like they're going to be tough to catch. But I just feel if we can keep on the coattails near the end, I'm hoping a bit of PTSD kicks in again and we can nick it.
I don't think Arna's got it yet, which is good. From my point of view, if it doesn't work out for Liverpool, they need a centre-back. That is definite. Gerald Kwanzaa didn't have a great season last year, and obviously it became apparent very early on. As much as Jurgen Klopp liked Gerald Kwanzaa, Arne Slot didn't. It lasted 45 minutes of the first game, and then he was out. We didn't really see him again, and when we did, he was horror show after horror show. Liverpool let him go, and I thought when he left, they'd just have a signing ready to come in, centre-half job done, and they haven't really. Joe Gomez is injured again. He does that. So at this moment, we've got two senior centre-backs in Konate and Van Dijk, who are both brilliant. But after that, you're looking at maybe an Endo. If I listen to the players who played centre-back for Liverpool in pre-season, Andy Robertson, Kostas Tsimikas, Wataru Endo, Lucas Stevenson, who's a kid, Ryan Gravenberch, like they're not centre-backs. None of them are centre-backs.
No.
So there's defos, they need to do something there, 100%. It looks like Mark Gay might be the one who they go for, which would be a good buy. So I think they need to get that sorted. But it's for me, the attacking prowess, and again, it's changed. They sold Darwin today, wasn't at his best, unfortunately. The tragic news what happened to Diogo, it's still, they haven't got him. So Ekitike comes in. They lose Luis Diaz, who was excellent last year for Liverpool in terms of scoring goals. So they've definitely got something to do up front as well. Obviously, we spoke all show. We think it's going to be Isak. That isn't confirmed yet. So if it's not him, they have to go and get somebody else. Barker's name's been mentioned. Rodrigo's name's been mentioned. So it looks like Liverpool have got their eyes on getting something done up there. There's an AFCON, which you mentioned before. Liverpool lose their best player and it's earlier this year. It's like around the Christmas time game. So Liverpool lose Mo Salah for a lot of December, which is a problem. Frimpong, by all accounts, the manager said to talk about Frimpong today has been an option there. With obviously then Conor Bradley playing at right back, and Chiesa's still here. He hasn't really kicked the ball, so it isn't nailed on. But I looked at Liverpool the other day, and I went through the team, and I was trying to pick a team for this game on Sunday, the Community Shield. Obviously, time recording hasn't been played yet, and I was leaving good players on, like really top players were on the bench, and that's fantastic for us. So Liverpool's midfield will probably be Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai, Wirtz, 3 of those will, I think, so Curtis Jones and one of the others will be on the bench. You look in other areas, they're really strong. So I do think they need to get a centre back, but I believe they will. If they don't, then I will change my mind. But I very rarely, there's this meme of Liverpool supporters saying it's our year, and it tends not to be Liverpool supporters, tends to be other people who say it. But actually, this is the first time in about 5 years where I do think Liverpool are the favourites, and I think Liverpool will win the league. I think they're the best team, and that makes me nervous saying that. And anyway, because I go back to the PTSD of Manchester City. That was my default method. Was Liverpool will get close and then Pep will do something at the end and they'll win 17 games and Vincent Kompany will score from the car park, or Ilkay Gundogan will turn into like Lionel Messi for 45 minutes against Aston Villa and fuck it all up for us. But I don't quite see City at that level yet. So that's why I'm not bullish, but I do think Liverpool are the best team. But there are still a couple of things where if it's going to go wrong, they're probably the couple of issues what Liverpool need to address before September.
Yeah, I've got Man City and Liverpool first and second, respectively. I think both teams get over 100 points. I think it will go down to neck and wire.
If that happens, right? If we lose the league on 100 points, I promise you now, I won't. I'm done. Like I'll just like no.
If I lost the league on 100 points, I'd be done as well.
I'm saying it now. Both teams get 100 points. All right, so one of you is done next season. All right.
I won't be here next year, man. Don't book me on this show next year, Mike. If we get 100 points, I swear to God, you'll find me in Bermuda. Not a chance that's happening. No way.
I'll get you both on at the end of the season if you both get 100 points, just to do a Premier League review just for it. For top goal scorer, then, Craig, who have you got that's going to get the top goal scorer in the league?
It's a tough one until the transfer window is finished, because you want to say Haaland or Salah is the main two that could get there. But if Isak goes to Liverpool, he's got better service. He's going to have more chances. I don't want to say until the end of the transfer window for that.
Big Steve?
I think Haaland does it, me. I think last year he still got 30 goals in all comps, but for his level, he was fuming. But I feel like with the way we've got now with Cherky and Aït-Nouri and Reinders and etc., we're just creating more chances. He scored tonight, Haaland, and he was off at half time. But like you say, he looks like, I think he got 4 in that World Club Cup as well. I feel like he's all free. I think he's back to his best, and I think they're going to be, instead of it just being locking Haaland up and Man City passing around on the edge of the box, which it has been for the last year, I feel like he's definitely going to be on it again. So, but he's got good competition. I was saying about Gyökeres. My opinion on Gyökeres was that the Arsenal fans have got to be patient, and they're not patient. So, what's going to happen with him? You're going to get teams who think, you know what, let's have Gyökeres all day, because some Premier League centre backs want to play against Erling Haaland. They want Gyökeres because they can manhandle him, pull him all over. And what Haaland realised early was, today is not going to be my day, so I'm going to keep these two busy. De Bruyne and the boys, you just get in them gaps and finish these off. And we accepted Haaland having 3 touches a game. We'd win 3-0. De Bruyne had scored 2, etc. I look at Arsenal, there's going to be games where Gyökeres is not going to get it. Does he start coming deep? And the last thing you want is a big lump coming deep in your midfield and bringing the whole back 4 up another 5 yards, because then your older guards can't play because he's in everyone's way. And then you get him getting frustrated coming onto the channels where he's no good on the channels. And this is where I feel like Arsenal, the rest of the team, have to step it up. You can't just rely on Gyökeres, because what the fans will do is they'll be like, they're not passing the ball to Gyökeres, they're not crossing the ball to Gyökeres, and they'll be putting it on that. And we had it with Haaland, the treble season. Halfway through, we beat Arsenal at the Emirates, then we went to Forest, drew 1-1, and I'm driving home and I'm thinking, not going to win the league. Haaland's had 2 touches there. We're not giving him the ball. Then all of a sudden, Pep tweaks it. We won the treble. So what do I know? You know what I mean? But what I'm trying to say is, I feel like Arsenal might have that problem with him. But I think Haaland will do it. I think Ekitike at Liverpool is going to be a good player. And I think with the amount of chances that Liverpool create, Darwin Núñez, Steve will tell you, fuck me. If he could shoot, he'd be 30 goals a season every season. You know what I mean? So I'm expecting him to have a good season, and like you say, it's going to be interesting. Now, there's been a lot of emphasis on the strikers. Sesko at United, 1 game a week. Do you know what I mean? Nice and chill. Can he get up there? We'll see.
Steve?
I think Haaland as well. Just Salah's AFCON is the reason why. I think, maybe goals per game might be very, very similar, but Salah's probably going to miss. It could be like 6 to 8 games, depending on how well Egypt do when it's around Christmas, where Mo Salah around December is usually absolute money. It's when he's at his best. He always starts seasons really, really well. So I'm going to say Haaland. He'll score 4 against like Burnley in a half or something stupid, because he's just a joke. I think listen, he's the obvious choice, but he's the obvious choice for a reason. I think he's one of the greatest, if not the best finisher I've ever seen. He's a joke. And I agree with Steve. I think City have added a little bit more creativity to the team than they had last year, where it felt like past the Jeremy Doku, he'll do 5 step overs, blam it behind, and everyone goes on, crack on. I think it'll be a little bit. It should be a bit different this year, like Turkey, like Aït-Nouri, like you mentioned before. So, another season of 34 Erling Haaland tap-ins.
I'm taking
Can't
it.
wait.
Taking it.
It doesn't matter how they go in, though, does it? Really, let's be
Who
honest.
cares? Yeah.
Do you know what? Regardless of who he signs for, I'm going to go for Isak. I think he is one of the best finishers. Again, Haaland obviously is. I just think that, especially if Isak does go to Liverpool, you can have the creativity from Ekitike, from Salah, from Frimpong. I just think that he is going to be the top goal scorer. Again, that's regardless if he leaves or not. But who's going to assist them the most? So who's going to get the top assist? I'm going to go for Steve first.
Probably Salah. I think he's fucking unbelievable, isn't it? You know what I mean? The numbers he's put up year on year. He's unbelievable. And like you say, Kevin De Bruyne used to be the man for the assists, but he's obviously slowed it right down. He's gone to Napoli now. But I can't look past Mo Salah. I think he's just mustard. Absolute great player.
Steve, what about you, mate?
Yeah, I think Salah too. Maybe Cole Palmer would be in this mix if Chelsea find they're shooting from Silvio, João Pedro's. We mentioned before about Darwin. Maybe you can put Nicholas Jackson in that conversation as well of players who miss more than they should. Yeah, with the players that Salah, I mentioned Verts here, but it's always difficult, I think, the way Liverpool play it. Everything goes through Mohamed Salah. Ekitike, you mentioned before, he should score more than what Nunez did. We'll see what else they do. If Isak turns up, then that is frightening. Salah, it's the main thing he's done to his game. It's what's took him from brilliant superstar to like one of the greatest Premier League players of all time. It's the last couple of years, this creativity that he's added to his game. He had a couple of moments the other day in the friendlies against Bilbao, which was like, he's absolutely ridiculous. So if the person in the box is a centre forward, because by the end of last season the manager had enough of everyone, and he was playing Luis Diaz there because his head was done in. Whether it's Ekitike or Isak, you'd expect them to finish those chances. Salah ends up equaling the record of goals and assists last year because our mates couldn't score a goal. He might break it this time around. So he's phenomenal. So yeah, I'm going to go Salah as well.
Craig, do you agree?
He's probably the worst mistake Chelsea have ever made.
They've made a few.
Definitely.
De Bruyne might be there as well, mate. I'm going to say
De Bruyne and Salah, imagine that.
Jesus. I'm trying to just think of players that could just spring up and get the odd assist that actually end up being top assist. Aït-Nouri, I think he could. I'm a massive fan of him at left back. I think he could create a lot of chances.
If you think Gyökeres is going to be good, then Saka becomes an option for this as well. Or Ødegaard, if you think he's going to be if he's going to be good. So a lot will depend.
Elanga as well, potentially, if they do keep Isak. He could create a few. Or, again, if you're going to be, like, out there, anything in the bottom half that's going to, like, say you've got a striking power and assist that are actually going to keep them in the league, potentially you get, like, a surprise package there. But I think Salah is the only obvious choice that you can get for most assists, especially if
Saka becomes an option, Mike, just because.
Yeah,
if he's fit, he takes the corners as well, and that's Arsenal's game plan. Obviously,
I feel like Turkey will do all right. I feel like watching him, everything's going through him. He played in the middle today. and it was everything was through Turkey, and him and Foden in that World Club Cup, they had a few little moments together where he was finding him. He did one tonight outside of the boot ball, and it cut everyone open, and Mamouche just wasn't quite on it. So I think Ray and Cherky for us, I'll be looking at him because I feel like Savinho, Doku, it's very, very, it's the final third is a problem for them. The build up, they've got the power, the pace. Savinho's missed one today where I score it all day long. He does it all the time. Jeremy Doku is literally either sensational or he's doing 45 step-ups and smashing it into the stand and barging into people. So they're a bit inconsistent. But I feel with this Churka, he always wants the ball and every single pass is forward or he's running into the gap. So I feel like if he can get regular with City and we can get ticking, I think he'll be the main man in it all,
I think Mamouche as well. I'm a massive fan of him. The fact that you got him last season, I know he didn't get an assist last season in the Prem, but he got 7 goals.
He's playing him wide left at the minute, and he always seems to be the type of wide left player that's going to cut in every time and shoot. I don't see him getting to the byline and crossing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Mamouche Omar's been a great addition to the team, but I just feel Cherky is. We sometimes last season we were crying out for somebody to just pick the lock. Teams were sat in the back 5-8, and we're never getting through. Crystal Palace FA Cup final, yeah, never getting through. Side to side, boring shit. As soon as you knew Palace scored, you sat there, you're thinking there's more ways to win a football game than this, Pep. Come on. And then now you look at us now. I know it's only pre-season, but it's just a breath of fresh air. The overlapping runs, you know what I mean? People coming inside, the wingers swapping wings. It just looks a lot more fluid how we used to play. So I think Cherky will have a quietly underrated season.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of him anyway. Wanted him at Leeds, but obviously he's never going to come to us, especially when you lot are interested in him. But let's have a quick name then for signing of the season before we finish it off with a hot take. Craig, who do you reckon is going to be the signing of the season?
And depending on what context you want to put this, because I'd say it doesn't necessarily need to be a top player to be signing of the season. And I'm going to go for maybe Anton Stack for Leeds as being the signing of the season in the context of he could be the player that makes a difference of us where we finish.
Yeah. Big Steve?
I'm going to say Tidjani Reinders for City. I just feel like he's going to be a problem. I feel like he was player of the year last year in Serie A, and every time I've seen him so far, he's gliding about that pitch, confidence. And then tonight, like I say, he scored 2. He should have had the third. He just seems to be arriving late, a bit like what Steve said before about Gundogan. When he's arriving late and scoring goals, he just seems to be doing that. And I'm hoping that everyone's going to be looking at the other players that we signed, but I think Reinders will be the one for me. But I listened Florian Wirtz as well. I've got to say it. I'm going to back my own guy, but Florian Wirtz, as soon as he's just a player. I watched him last year so many times, and so many times he had me on the edge of the sofa, just going, wow, we need to sign him. And I feel like, yeah, in that Liverpool team, he's a problem.
Steve, I think you're agreeing with that, aren't you?
When he signs next week, maybe. I'll go with that one. But Wirtz is the yeah. I say, if I think Liverpool will win the title, it's one of those two. And you know what? I mentioned it before. If Gyökeres is good, he's definitely in this mix as well. Because if he's the man who takes Arsenal from nearly to there, they've been saying for years, haven't they? We just get that striker. Well, if they win the title or win a trophy, win a big trophy, Champions League or whatever, and he will get a lot of the credit for that one. But I don't think they will. So yeah, I'm gonna let's go with Big Alex when he signs next week and wins Liverpool the treble.
So I'd touch upon the name again, Ryan Aiden-Nuri. I think he could potentially be a signing of the season, especially if City push on left back. Again, Sesko, if he hits the ground running for them and they push up, say they get a top 6 finish. Again, Craig said Anton Stach, what he can actually bring. And I know that obviously bottom of the table, you don't exactly see it signing the season. But if he keeps us in the league and we're comfortable, and he's that guy that does it, full well, we said it last week on our podcast, or Lucas Perry, the goalkeeper, if he keeps us in, keeps us clean sheets, then one of them two. But again, that's being biased, but we're allowed to be. It's our show.
Like I say, it's in context. He's nowhere.
Yeah.
He's not going to be Verts, which I said he's going to be. He's going to be a young player at season before a ball's kicked. But for what he means to Leeds and what he could potentially do for Leeds, he'll be the signing of the season for Leeds.
Yeah, for Leeds, but I think it could even be for the league.
Well,
but
that's what I
again,
mean,
it's
for
context. It's how you determine it.
In the context, it could be, for league as well.
Craig, let's have a big hot take then before we finish it.
Sunderland go down, bottom.
Sunderland go down. Is that a hot take?
Well, to Sunderland fans, it is a hot take, innit? Because they think they're going to get Europe, so yeah, they're going down bottom of the league.
Felt like a very cold take, Craig, I'll be honest. Yeah, I think you can go hotter than the odds-on favourites to go back down. But I haven't seen enough of the Sunderland fans what they're saying, but
yeah, they think they're going to get Europe, mate.
There is a few that do actually think that they're going to be comfortable. They're going to be done by Christmas. They're safe, kind of thing. Steve, what's your hot take then?
I mean, I might have already mentioned before. I have Brighton finishing in the Champions League places, which feels very hot. So I'll stick with that.
Yeah, Big Steve.
Benjamin Sesko has a better season than Gyökeres.
That is hot.
What, in terms of goals and assists, or just
in terms of goals and assists? So I feel like Sesko. I thought Sesko was a better fit for Arsenal. Just the way they played.
I said the same.
Thought that. I said that on the Big Six show, and they killed me. And then I said about Gyökeres before he signed for Arsenal, what my thoughts was on him. I watched him a few times, and I just feel like he's not as good as people think. And I'm there to be proven wrong. And I just feel like he's at the wrong club because they've been blinded by numbers, and they've been blinded by this shiny record. But he's gone to the wrong club for me. If he does not start scoring right away in that Premier League, it'll just be meltdown central over there. You know what I mean? They'll be scribbling on the walls again and painting Arteta out on the bridges and stuff. But I feel like Benjamin Sesko, I think he's got the potential. Premier League, I think, suits him, and I think he'll have a good season.
The only other one I had, I don't know if this is hot, but I think Iriola might not last the season at Bournemouth. In that, you lose Kerkez, you lose Huijsen, Zabani's about to sign for PSG.
Done, I think.
Yeah, it looks like it's, if not completed already. Don't know. Look who they brought in, who they're bringing in so far. Petrovic is their biggest signing goal, which is a decent one. But Kepa was actually, I think it's tough for them. Watts has been linked now with Brentford as well, isn't he? Again, I went back to before. It's what I said really, about 80 minutes ago, whatever, at the start of the show. When you can go sometimes too far to that well. They couldn't do nothing with Huijsen, of course. It was a release clause, but when PSG come knocking on your Bournemouth, you have to let your players go, because the reason Bournemouth can sign these players is because they know it's a stepping stone to elsewhere. So if you stop being the stepping stone, you don't get the players in the first place. Losing all those players in one go, and it might not that he gets sacked. He might just have enough and go, you know what? A job comes up in Spain, or a job comes up in the Premier League. Someone else gets his job, and he goes, a bit like what Thomas Frank's done. Now is the time for me to move on. I think he's a very good manager. But yeah, I'll go with that one. I don't know what they can do in the rest of the window to replace their two starting centre-halves, their left-back. They've got a change in goal, obviously, enforced. They're going to lose one of their front three. That feels, that feels very, very tough for Bournemouth.
Yeah, I agree.
I think at least two of the promoted sides stay up. Even one promoted side, I think, would be a hot take from what I'm seeing, especially a lot of the pundits have been saying it, whether or not it's Sky Sports, whether or not it's BT, TNT, whichever. Even like
last season, last season I was on the Overlap first show. They said the hot take. I said Aston Villa will have a bad season, won't get in the Champions League, and Crystal Palace will have a good season. After about 10 games, some Aston Villa geezer chopped it up on TikTok and put, look at this dickhead, what he's saying here. So at the end of the season, I messaged him. I said, listen, who's the dickhead now? I said, Crystal Palace won the FA Cup and they beat you in the semi-final and you didn't finish in the Champions League. And he's like, yeah, I'm sorry about that. I said, do a video and apologise then. And I will do. He never has done.
No, he won't. I did say on another one, I was on a Tottenham podcast. I can't remember which one it was. And I said Leeds would win the League Cup.
Yeah, you must have been pissed.
That is a very, very,
I don't even drink. I'm 4 years sober, so I must have been something or other.
I mean, it's not a very, very hot take, but I'd say that not being biased out of it, but I think that we got a chance to bridge that gap. I think we will bridge that gap this season and stay up. I think only us, though. I think we were the best equipped club to do it.
A non-six club wins the cup as well.
What happened?
Which one?
Well, possibly Everton.
FA Cup or League Cup?
I think Jack Grealish is going to go Everton.
I think Everton can win either of the cups. As much as Steve probably won't like that.
I mean, listen, there's been some droughts ended in recent seasons, so you never know. But yeah, I mean, that might be a sign of the apocalypse if Everton win a cup. Yeah, you start.
Imagine if Everton win a cup and you lose the title on the last day with 100 points.
Yeah, you'll find me in the Mersey. Jeez. If Everton win a trophy, I want people doing Hail Marys. I want people grasping as many rosary beads as they can and, I don't know, setting crop circles on fire because if something's going badly wrong with Everton win something, mate, trust me. They hate their team. They hate their team at the moment. I live around a few of them. They're more worried about staying up than they are about winning something at this moment in time, mate. So fair play if they do. But yeah, listen, Newcastle won a trophy and Crystal Palace won one, so you never know. Stranger things have happened.
Exactly.
Is Everton winning?
There you go. Everton win a cup and Liverpool comes second with 100 points. There we go.
Fish me out the Mersey. Yeah, I'll see you there. I've walked into the sea.
Right. Guys, we will leave that there. Both Steves, thank you for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. Craig, thanks for joining as always. Big Steve and Steve, where can everyone find you?
Big Steve at Big Steve MCFC. That's on everything. TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. And then the Big Six Show is on Mondays and Thursdays on YouTube. So I'm on there.
Yeah,
Steve?
Yes, if you just search Steve Orr on Twitter, you'll find me, and obviously part of the Redman TV where I'm on there pretty much every day. So if you haven't got enough of me already, I do apologise. I'm very about. There's a lot of me in various places. So yeah, if you Google me, I'm sure you'll find me. It won't always be positive, and you might find some of those videos like Steve mentioned of people chopping up some of the mad things I've said before. But I'm around. That's for certain.
Anyways, guys, thanks for joining, and everyone, thanks for listening. And if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button because it does help us out. Thanks for joining.